What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, invading Columbus, Ohio for Sonic Temple Fest. And today we're here with Josh of The Plot and you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thanks for coming early. I know you guys want to check out Gojira, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry about me. I'll be here for another 2 hours.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. But it's so awesome to have you here. Your latest record is Disposed, and it's been out for about a year now. Do you want to give a rundown on how the making of the record was and the record cycle thus far?
Well, we were in between labels and didn't really know what we were going to do. And then Fearless picked us up, and Landon had been working on a bunch of demos and stuff, but we hadn't really decided on a direction. And then once we signed to Fearless, writing started a lot more, and then we went into the studio with Drew Folk and with like 20 songs and left with only 7 done because we were spending so much time on each song. So then I had to do more after that. But it was kind of a long process, and it took a couple years to get going. But
You ever worried that the songs you cut out of the record are going to be on like a B-side record or just be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
I don't know. We should go back and listen to them sometimes.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. I probably haven't heard most of them since we were there, so maybe there's a hidden gem in there.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah.
Now, with each record now, because you're well into your career, do you take a new approach with every album, or does The Plot and you like to maybe stick with a certain formula and leave your fans knowing what to expect?
Honestly, every one of our albums sounds different, and we don't mean to do it. It's just we write as our interests change, so it just kind of naturally is different every time in some way or another, because we'll be listening to different music or be into new things. So I wouldn't say that we try to put out a different album every time. It just kind of happens that way.
So you kind of answered the next question. Things kind of like happen organically, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
not like a preconceived
Yeah, we're not
idea.
like sitting around talking about it beforehand, like this is like we need to do this direction. It just kind of happens, really.
Yeah. Now, I thought your music is both very heavy and very melodic at the same time. I think you have the best of both worlds with that. So does one part come first? Do you focus more on riffs or rhythm or?
Well, with Dispose, we decided we were going to try to focus a lot on vocals and lyrics. So we made it a point to like kind of bring guitars down a little bit and like tone down the riffs and let room for Lannon's voice to shine, because we were trying to do pretty much all singing on the album, and we wanted to showcase that he has a good voice. So that's kind of the formula we went with there.
Yeah, and having more of a singing album, because actually the first time I ever saw you guys play was in the fall of 2015 on the Amity Affliction Chelsea Grin tour.
Yeah.
And, that was a fairly slam-oriented, with Chelsea Grin, and Cruel Hand. That was pretty hardcore.
Yeah, for sure.
I was watching you guys from the back. But so you're able to like cater to the deathcore audience, but you also have like the melodic elements that could cater to. You could play with pretty much just about any type of band, right?
Yeah, sure. And we do. We still always seem to play with heavy and soft bands because we have such a catalog of music that we can make it work. And we definitely have a lot of fans that are very separate. We have our heavy fans, and we have our fans that like the softer stuff.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Do you sometimes maybe adjust your set list depending on the tours you're on?
Oh yeah, totally. If depending on the other bands that are playing on the tour, we'll switch some things around. If it's a lot of heavy bands, we'll maybe throw some heavy songs in there. But we honestly like to be the softest band on a heavy tour, because then we feel like we stand out a little bit more.
Yeah, I heard All That Remains likes to do that. If they're playing with a Warped Tour type of band, they put their guttural death metal songs on there.
Yeah.
And then if they're touring with In Flames or Cannibal Corpse, they'll play their ballads.
I think it's good to stand out like that. It's sweet.
Yeah, people will definitely remember who you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, one thing I was really curious about with The Plot and you, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are actually from Ohio, right?
Yes.
Not this area, right?
Yeah, just a couple hours north.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of great bands from Ohio, especially within your side, like The Devil Wears Prada and Moths to Flames, and just musical history, Nine Inch Nails, Ringworm, and so many great bands. Is there a scene in your hometown in Ohio you kind of started in, or did you have to go outside your state?
Yeah, I think there's a scene kind of all around Ohio. I'm from Toledo, and there's our own little scene there that kind of just shifted around with different genres of music until people kind of went their own ways. But I think back when I was in high school and just out of it, that metalcore in Ohio in general was just thriving and everyone was like helping each other, and tons of labels were picking up Ohio bands. I'm not sure how it all happened, but
yeah. I mean, it seems I've always said that Ohio is the Midwest Sweden at this point.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, what you got Origin from Kansas. That's the only band I could think of, and like, but maybe I'm just out of the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned metalcore, and I like talking with some metalcore bands about that, because if I ask people what metalcore is, most of the time they say it's music that has singing and screaming in it.
Yeah.
But I would never call Soilwork or Opeth or Fear. What is your definition of metalcore?
Oh, it's so hard because there's so many different variants of it. You have metalcore that leans way more into the world of hardcore than it does metal, and then just, I don't know, it's so hard to define. I think just riffs with singing and screaming, but like a very specific type of riff and breakdowns.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
You just described Fear Factory to me, and that's not metalcore.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think it's kind of just a broad term.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yep.
I don't know.
And I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
This is actually my first festival that I'm working at as well. So, like, for me, working press at a festival is very different from, like, doing it at a show. For being a band on a festival, how different is it playing at a big festival like this versus, like, a regular tour?
Well, a regular tour, you're, like, on the same schedule every day, and, like, you kind of know what to expect. But festivals, you can play, like we did today, early in the morning, and I don't know, just like being outside and the whole environment, so many bands on it and stuff, it's totally a different vibe.
Yeah, definitely. So before I go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, for sure.
Gojira's coming on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is there just anything else with the plot and you'd like to promote in terms of tours or new music?
We're kind of in a little transitionary phase right now, so I don't know we don't know what we're doing.
All right.
Still trying to figure it out.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Everybody, Josh of The Plot, and you pick up Dispose out on Fearless if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York, invading Columbus, Ohio for Sonic Temple. We'll see you next time.